Hey friends, this is Pastor Joe from Southwest Lutheran Church, and I'm here to share a discipleship recap for our message from Sunday, June 25th. And it was fun this past Sunday because we were out at Camp Lutherhaven, and I got to share the message. We invited folks out to camp. It was a great time. We had a wonderful time. That's a wonderful ministry and place out at Camp Lutherhaven. If you've never been out there, I encourage you to go and check it out. It's a great thing. So, this past Sunday, we read from Romans chapter 6, where Paul talks about how we have been changed. God has brought us from death to life. We are no longer slaves to sin, but now we are slaves to righteousness. Everything about us changes when we come to know Jesus as Lord and Savior. When God calls us to be His own, everything changes. From death to life, from sin to forgiveness, from just unrighteousness to righteousness, all these things. And so we talked about how this puts a call on our lives that we need to live differently. We need to start being conformed to the image of Christ. That change that God works in us needs to be reflected in our actions, in our ways of thinking and speaking and even feeling and the way we are as people, our ways of being, right? Everything needs to start changing. So this is what God says to us, right? I've made you my own. I've changed quite a bit. Lots of really big things about it. And now we are called to be God's people. So practically speaking, what do we do about this? Well, we talked about how it can be really hard to make changes in our life. Whether you're trying to kick bad habits, kick an addiction, whether you're trying to develop new habits that are better for you, whether you're trying to be more faithful, whatever the change is, practically speaking, we tend to be products of our environment. And all the forces, all the people, everything that works together to shape us into the kind of people we are, it's all still there. And so it can be really difficult just to make a change. Sometimes we think that I can just decide to be different, be more healthy, be more faithful, be whatever. And it is so hard to do. So we said, and this is appropriate for Camp Lutherhaven, very often what we need is to get away. We need to get away from the environment that has shaped us to be the way we are so that we can begin to live differently. And so this is how we talked about that early Christian community in Rome that Paul was writing to. What they needed in that early Christian community was they needed to be a place where they could get away from Rome, from the pagan culture, from everything that had shaped them to be who they were apart from Christ. And the early Christian congregation, they needed to get away to the Christian community so that they could begin to live and act and think like Jesus, to be conformed to His image. So first and foremost, we need to get away to be with our Christian brothers and sisters so that we can begin to live as Jesus calls us to live. And then second, we said there's other getaways, right? Sometimes we just take vacations so that we can rest. And we need that as creatures. We need that as people. And so we need to get away sometimes to rest. We need to get away sometimes for vision so we can remember who we are, get away from the day-to-day pressures of work or church or school or whatever, and remember what's the big picture? Why are we here in the first place? And so that's another great getaway that we might pursue. We talked about how, sometimes we need to get away to be healthy. And maybe that looks like, some place where I can practice healthy eating habits. Maybe that looks like addiction recovery. Maybe that looks like healthy relationships. I'm not sure. But sometimes there we need to get away too so that we can begin to live in more healthy ways, develop new and better habits, whatever it may be. So, to take it home, sometimes as Christians we need to get away. Not so that we can escape from the world in which we live, but so that we can get away, we can rest, we can recharge, we can refocus, we can get healthier, so that then we can return to our homes, to our communities, to our workplaces, to our congregations with more energy and more focus to live faithfully as the people of God. So, sometimes we need to get away. That's what I got from our passage this past Sunday, Romans chapter 6, verses 11-23. I'd love to hear what you have to say, what God is speaking to you through that passage, and then how do you live faithfully? How do you respond as a disciple of Jesus following him? Throw that in the comments below, or if you got questions or ideas, I'd love to have a conversation. Until next time, take care and God bless.